Hi there, and welcome to Tia Sách. Together, let's explore 9 Tia Sách that capture the key ideas from the psychology of money. Timeless Lessons on Wealth, Greed, and Happiness by Morgan Housel. Now, let's start with the introduction. The human side of financial success. Achieving financial success isn't just about what you know, it's about how you behave. This concept, highlighted by Morgan Housel, emphasizes that behavior is challenging to teach, even to the smartest individuals. Traditional teachings on money, investing, personal finance, and business decisions focus on math-based fields, where data and formulas dictate actions. However, real-world financial decisions are rarely made on spreadsheets. They happen at the dinner table or in meeting rooms, influenced by personal history, ego, pride, marketing, and various incentives. Questions like how the stock market works, the best times to buy or sell assets, and how much to save annually for retirement dominate personal finance discussions. Yet, these conversations often miss a crucial element: the human factor, the intricate relationship between people and their money. Morgan Housel argues that understanding this human factor is essential to grasping financial decision-making. By delving into these human aspects, we can better understand and improve our financial choices. That is the introduction. The human side of financial success. Tia Sách 1. The subjectivity of financial wisdom. Our experiences, upbringing, status, and various other factors shape our view of the world and its functioning, particularly regarding money. These experiences are unique to each individual, and cannot be fully understood without living through them personally. Economists have found that people's investment decisions are heavily influenced by their generational experiences, rather than just their financial goals or the characteristics of available investment options. A well-known example of this is the Great Depression, which left a lasting impact on millions of Americans. The narrative of economic ruin, lost homes, and evaporated savings defines the era for many. However, this is not the only story. For instance, John F. Kennedy, whose family's wealth grew during the 1930s, realized only later through academic study how deeply others had suffered. This starkly contrasting experience illustrates how economic realities can differ vastly even within the same period. This disparity in experiences extends beyond the extremes of wealth. For example, the son of an unemployed farmhand and the son of a successful Manhattan stockbroker not only come from different walks of life, but also learn profoundly different lessons about risk and reward. Even among similarly wealthy individuals, experiences can shape financial worldviews differently. Someone who grew up during periods of high inflation will perceive money and investment risks differently than someone who has only known stable prices. These individual experiences lead to unique perspectives on money. We might think we understand the economy, but we typically only grasp a small fraction of its complexity. Recognizing this is the first step in appreciating the psychology of money. Our understanding is often more limited than we like to believe. By acknowledging the subjective nature of financial wisdom, we can better appreciate the diverse ways people interact with and make decisions about money. End of Tia Sách 1. The subjectivity of financial wisdom. Tia Sách 2. How personal experience shapes financial decisions. Economists often model financial behavior, assuming rational individuals, making decisions to maximize returns. However, reality is much more complex. Take the lottery, for example. Individuals from low-income households are more likely to buy lottery tickets than their wealthier counterparts. Around 40% of all households struggle to find $400 in an emergency. Unsurprisingly, this 40% includes the same low-income households who spend an average of $411 annually on lottery tickets. This behavior isn't entirely irrational. For many, the lottery represents the only chance to achieve what wealthier individuals take for granted. Despite the long odds, playing the lottery provides a glimmer of hope that beats the alternative of having no chance at all. Personal experience drives financial decision-making, a fact underscored by a 2006 study by economists Ulrike Malmendier and Stefan Nagel. They analyzed 50 years of data from the Survey of Consumer Finances to understand what influences investment choices. Their findings revealed that the state of the economy during an individual's young adulthood significantly impacts their attitude toward risk. For example, if high inflation marked one's late teens and early 20s, they were less likely to invest in bonds later in life. Conversely, those who experienced low inflation during these formative years were more inclined to invest in bonds regardless of subsequent inflation rates. The same pattern applies to stock investments. Those who witnessed a booming stock market in their early adulthood continued to invest in stocks, while those who experienced a weak market avoided it, even when conditions improved later. Take someone born in 1970. The S&P 500 surged tenfold during their mid-teens to early 20s, rewarding those who invested. In contrast, those born in 1950 saw a stagnant market during the same period, shaping their reluctance to invest. These early experiences form gut decisions that persist, highlighting that personal history, rather than rational analysis, often guides financial behavior. You've just listened to Tia Sách 2, How Personal Experience Shapes Financial Decisions. Tia Sách 3, We Are All New to Money. The principles of saving and investing, which form the modern foundation of financial decisions, are relatively new concepts. This recency helps explain why many people find managing their finances challenging. To illustrate, consider the domestication of dogs. Today's diverse breeds, ranging from toy poodles to mastiffs, have evolved over a 10,000-year history of domestication. Yet, despite this long history, dogs still exhibit instinctual wild traits when they spot a squirrel or a cat. Similarly, in the grand scheme of things, the economic concepts we use today are historical infants. Therefore, our understanding and management of money are still evolving and are deeply influenced by ingrained behaviors and instincts. The first currency appeared around 600 BC, when King Alyattes of Lydia, an Iron Age kingdom in modern-day Turkey, minted his own coins. This is relatively recent compared to the long history of human civilization. More complex economic concepts, such as retirement, are even younger. Before World War II, most Americans worked until they died. Life expectancy was lower, and even in the 1940s, half of all men above the age of 65 still participated in the labor market. The introduction of Social Security after the war began to change this, but it wasn't until the 1980s that retirement became a realistic goal for many American workers, as the average monthly Social Security check rose above $1,000. Adjusted for inflation, other key financial practices are also relatively new. Hedge funds only became prominent about 25 years ago, and index funds have a history of just 50 years. Consumer debt, such as mortgages, car loans, and credit cards, which are major drivers of economic growth, became common in the U.S. only in 1944 and worldwide later on. In conclusion, our difficulties with financial planning and decision-making are not due to irrationality, but rather to our relative inexperience. As these principles continue to evolve and become more ingrained, our financial literacy and management skills will likely improve. That is the end of Tia Sách 3. We are all new to money. We're now coming to Tia Sách 4, The Hidden Role of Luck in Financial Success. Bill Gates is widely recognized for his exceptional intelligence, hard work, and visionary outlook on computers that set him apart from most trained executives of his time. However, a critical element of his success was his good fortune to attend Lakeside School, one of the very few schools with access to a computer in 1968. This access was a pivotal factor in his future accomplishments. Luck and risk are intrinsic to every outcome in life, yet they are challenging to measure and often overlooked. Acknowledging their impact helps us understand that financial success is rarely as straightforward as it seems. Nobel Prize-winning economist Robert Shiller once expressed his desire to fully understand the role of luck in successful outcomes. While many investors and entrepreneurs acknowledge that luck plays a role, its extent is hard to quantify. This reluctance to attribute success to chance is a mistake in financial decision-making. Economist Bhaskar Mazumdar's research reveals that siblings' incomes are more closely correlated than their height or weight. This suggests that shared opportunities and privileges significantly influence financial outcomes. However, those who benefit from these advantages often downplay the role of luck, believing their success is purely a result of hard work. Human psychology tends to distort our perception of luck. When we succeed, we attribute it to our efforts. When we fail, we blame bad luck. Conversely, we are quick to attribute others' failures to personal shortcomings, rather than misfortune. Our culture, which celebrates success, exacerbates this bias. Media outlets like Forbes praise investors who got lucky while ignoring those who failed due to unfortunate circumstances. This bias leaves us with a distorted view of financial success. We need to incorporate randomness into our models to understand what truly works. While we may not quantify the exact role of chance, we can recognize its influence. End of Tia Sách 4. The hidden role of luck in financial success. Tia Sách 5. Learning from broad patterns. Bill Gates once quipped that success is a lousy teacher. As discussed in the last Tia Sách, success tricks smart people into overlooking the role of luck, making them think they can't lose. This false confidence often paves the way for eventual failure. So how should you build chance and luck into your financial behavior? The key is to focus on broad patterns, rather than obsessing over specific individuals. Studying highly successful people often leads us to pick outliers such as billionaires, who've dramatically changed the world. This can mislead us. Take John D. Rockefeller, one of history's most successful entrepreneurs. When building his petroleum industry, he ignored U.S. laws that hindered his plans. His success makes us celebrate his vision, seeing him as someone who refused to let outdated laws stifle innovation. But, had he failed, we'd likely view him as an unsuccessful criminal. This illustrates the thin line between boldness and recklessness, often only realized in hindsight. Housel suggests that the more exceptional a story, the more likely luck played a significant role. Exceptional stories are unique and less likely to provide actionable lessons. Instead, Housel recommends focusing on patterns. If many wealthy people did thing A to get rich, and only one did thing B, it's more probable that following thing A will lead to wealth. Broad patterns are also more likely to be applicable to your life and financial decisions. For example, studies show that people who control the structure of their days are happier with their work than those who don't. This is a broad observation you can act on immediately, unlike the unique paths of outliers. End of Tia Sách 5. Learning from broad patterns. Let's continue with Tia Sách 6. The Perils of Envy and the Quest for Enough. In today's society, the concept of enough is often blurred, leading to dangerous consequences for those who cannot recognize its limits. This insatiable desire for more has driven individuals, like Rajat Gupta, to commit fraud in pursuit of wealth they didn't need, ultimately destroying their lives and reputations. Rajat Gupta, born into poverty in Kolkata, India, rose to prominence as the CEO of McKinsey, amassing a fortune of $100 million by the time he retired in 2007. However, his envy for greater riches led him down a dark path. Despite his considerable success, Gupta yearned to become a billionaire. In 2008, as a board member at Goldman Sachs, he learned about Warren Buffett's imminent $5 billion investment to save the firm during the financial crisis. Gupta, driven by greed, immediately tipped off a hedge fund manager, engaging in illegal insider trading. His pursuit of easy money earned him $17 million, but ultimately landed him in prison. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. Constantly striving for more can lead to reckless decisions and eventual regret. The capitalist system excels at generating wealth and fostering envy. Consider a rookie baseball player earning $500,000 annually. By any reasonable standard, he is wealthy. However, if he compares himself to a superstar like Mike Trout, who earns $36 million a year, his own earnings seem inadequate. High earners like Trout, in turn, compare themselves to even wealthier individuals, perpetuating a cycle of envy. Envy is not just a moral issue, it's a practical one. It drives people to make reckless decisions, as seen in Gupta's case. When is enough truly enough? Gupta's downfall serves as a stark reminder that envy can lead to catastrophic consequences. Recognizing that things like family, reputation, happiness, freedom, and independence are priceless, helps manage our finances by shifting the focus from endless accumulation to meaningful priorities. When you value these intangible assets, you're less likely to engage in risky financial behavior that could jeopardize them. This perspective encourages prudent financial decisions, such as saving responsibly, avoiding unnecessary debt, and investing in ways that align with your long-term well-being rather than short-term gains. End of Tia Sách 6. The Perils of Envy and the Quest for Enough. Now is Tia Sách 7. The subtle difference between being rich and being wealthy. There's often confusion between being wealthy and being rich. Understanding this distinction is crucial for achieving and maintaining financial success. Wealth is having a lot of money in the bank, funds that you're not currently using but could if necessary. In contrast, being rich means having a high current income, allowing for the purchase of expensive items. The key difference is that wealth is hidden, while richness is visible. Wealth is not about owning fancy cars and expensive homes. It's about the financial assets that haven't yet been converted into visible items. Many people appear humble and modest, but are actually wealthy, while others seem rich, but are on the brink of bankruptcy. This distinction is vital because it shifts the focus from outward displays of wealth to the underlying financial security that true wealth represents. When you focus on outward displays and think of your worth and pride only in terms of money, keeping hold of your fortune can be challenging. Take the example of Jesse Livermore, one of the most successful stock market traders of early 20th century America. By the age of 30, he was worth $100 million, $1.5 billion in today's money. His most significant success came just before the crash of 1929, when he bet against the market. However, Livermore's story didn't have a happy ending. He continued to make larger and larger bets, ultimately losing his entire fortune and taking his own life in 1940. The lesson here is that getting rich requires risk, optimism, and courage, while staying wealthy necessitates a different mindset, one characterized by fear of loss, humility, and perseverance. Many who get rich fail to maintain wealth because they underestimate the role of luck and overestimate their abilities. Saving is a critical component of building wealth, and it has less to do with income or investment returns than with one's savings rate. People fall into three categories: those who save, those who don't think they can save, and those who don't think they need to save. Individuals in the first group understand the importance of building wealth through disciplined saving. They recognize that wealth isn't just about income, but about how much money is kept and invested. The second group often feels financially constrained, believing that their income barely covers their expenses. They might prioritize immediate needs and desires over long-term savings, making it difficult for them to accumulate wealth. Education and financial planning can help this group see the possibilities for saving, even in small amounts. Individuals in the third group, who don't think they need to save, have high incomes, and believe their financial success will continue indefinitely. They might spend lavishly, assuming their current income will always support their lifestyle. However, the biggest single point of failure with money is solely relying on a paycheck without having savings on the side for the future. You've just listened to Tia Sách 7, the subtle difference between being rich and being wealthy. Tia Sách 8, Embracing Uncertainty, the Path to Financial Success. Success in investing often hinges on embracing uncertainty and recognizing the long-term nature of financial health. One key lesson is that you can be wrong half the time and still make a fortune. This principle is exemplified by Heinz Berggruen, who fled Nazi Germany in 1936 without a clear path, but eventually became one of the most successful art collectors of all time. After an unremarkable start, studying literature at the University of California, Berkeley, and working as a journalist, Berggruen bought a small watercolor by Paul Klee for $100 in 1940. This purchase ignited his passion for modern art, leading him to amass a collection featuring works by Picasso, Klee, Matisse, and Braque. By the 1990s, his collection's value was estimated at $1 billion. Yet he sold it to the German government for 100 million euros. Berggruen's story highlights that his collection's success wasn't merely due to skill, but also the principle of spreading risks widely. According to Horizon Research, great collectors like Berggruen buy vast quantities of art, knowing that some acquisitions will be valuable while most will not. The strategy is to hold on to the winners until the overall portfolio's value reflects the return of these best pieces. This approach is akin to an index fund, where the overall return converges on the success of a few top-performing elements, despite many failures. This concept, known as the long tail, applies broadly to investments. A small number of successful ventures often account for the majority of outcomes. Essentially, a few significant successes can offset numerous failures. For example, owning one valuable Picasso can overshadow 90 less successful purchases. Failure is common, but it doesn't preclude success. Many successful financial ventures hinge on low-probability outlier events, instances of good luck that compensate for numerous smaller setbacks. For instance, Nintendo's dominance in the American market is largely due to the massive success of Super Mario Bros., which outweighed the losses from other failed products. Morgan Housel emphasizes that embracing uncertainty is crucial for long-term investing success. Market fluctuations and the inherent uncertainty of investing are unavoidable. The higher the potential gain, the greater the uncertainty, as seen in the compounding returns of long-term stock investments. Accepting this uncertainty allows investors to endure short-term volatility and benefit from long-term gains. This concludes Tia Sách 8, Embracing Uncertainty, the Path to Financial Success. Now, you've reached the final track, Tia Sách 9, The Essentials of Long-Term Financial Success. Sticking to a long-term financial strategy requires more than just understanding basic investment principles. It also involves knowing how to filter the information you encounter to make better decisions. One of the best ways to ensure you focus on the right information is to know your personal financial goals. Understanding what financial goals matter to you personally helps you avoid chasing the goals of others. When you have clear financial goals, you can ignore irrelevant information and resist the herd mentality that leads to poor decisions, such as getting caught in investment bubbles like those in housing or stocks. To discover your personal financial goals, Housel recommends writing a mission statement for your finances. Ask yourself how long you will invest your money and what you hope to achieve over that time. With these goals in mind, you'll find it easier to focus on relevant information and make better decisions. Successful investing comes with a price, not paid in money, but in volatility, fear, doubt, uncertainty, and regret. These costs are not obvious because they don't come with clear price tags. With clear financial goals in mind, you can convince yourself that these emotional and psychological fees are worth it to stick with your investments long enough to see significant returns. Financial bubbles occur when the momentum of short-term returns attracts enough money to shift investment strategies from long-term to short-term. The dot-com bubble is a prime example. Bubbles become dangerous when long-term investors start taking cues from short-term traders. It's easy to be influenced by what others do, but since you don't know their reasons, copying them can be risky. Identify your own investment game and stick with it. Pessimism is more common than optimism because it sounds smarter and is more captivating. Progress happens too slowly to notice, while setbacks are immediate and obvious. Pessimism is seductive, because if we expect things to be bad, we are pleasantly surprised when they turn out well. However, progress is constant, even if slow, and markets adapt over time. Long-term financial planning is essential, but life's changes, your goals and circumstances, will also change over time. Avoid extreme financial planning strategies, such as working too hard for a high income, or settling for a low income with the hope of being content. Aim for a balance that includes decent annual savings, free time, and moderate time with family to avoid future regrets. Moreover, understand that every job and task may look easier from the outside, because the true challenges are often hidden. That was Tia Sách 9, The Essentials of Long-Term Financial Success. Before we close the book, let's take a moment to reflect with the final summary. Financial decision-making in the real world, entangled with psychological factors, is far more complicated than economics theories. It is important to observe and understand your own tendencies. For example, While the value of wealth is relative to a person's needs, spending beyond a basic level of material comfort often reflects an egotistical approach to money. Moreover, managing expectations and understanding the dangers of envy are crucial for financial well-being. Don't fall into the trap of constantly moving the goalpost. Appreciate what you have, and recognize when enough is truly enough. Investing isn't just about being rational. It's also about being reasonable. A rational investor makes decisions based on numeric facts, while a reasonable investor considers social contexts and personal circumstances. Not all theoretical strategies are practical in real life. If you love your investments, you're more likely to stick with them during tough times. Economic history can provide context, but shouldn't be heavily relied upon for future decisions because unprecedented events shape the most significant market changes. Planning for financial success involves accepting that things might go wrong and always leaving room for error. By spreading risks and understanding that a few significant wins can outweigh many losses, you can maintain a broad perspective and focus on long-term goals to navigate the uncertainties of the market and achieve enduring success.